Hey guys, welcome back. We're just going to go straight back into the series and pick up where we left off. Part B, we're talking about the contracts of the CBA. And I will warn you again, I'm editing this from something that's very quiet, so you'll have to turn up your volume in a moment. Cheers. Now, it's a little different from other leagues because if you're an NHL guy, we have what's called a soft cap in the NBA. And what that means is teams can go above the salary cap. This year it's expected to be around 112 million per season. And most teams operate above the salary cap. There's actually a floor that is 90% of the cap. So teams have to meet at least the floor. Not too many teams go beyond a certain level, which is above the cap. And that's where you get punitive charges for going above by a certain amount. So you can go above the cap in order to re-sign your own players. And there's other clauses too, like veteran minimum, league averages. There's all these mid-level exceptions. So you can look those up, or we can talk about them if you want me to look at them specifically. Note it in the comments, because if we're beyond the cap, we can still sign guys, but we're limited in terms of our money. And this is so that the shitty teams can move up in the rankings and sign guys. These exceptions are how you see guys like Blake Griffin on the Nets for a league minimum last year because he's trying to chase a ring, right? So there's very unique ways. Now, the unique way that I want to focus on is something that came about because of a guy named Larry Bird, who all of us know. And he had to retire a Celtic, didn't he? Well, they actually passed a rule because they didn't want to see him leave Boston. The fans loved him. He's a staple. So the NBA created this amazing, amazing clause that created a family of reasons why you can go beyond the cap to keep players in their towns where fans have come to adore them. What an amazing rule. So teams that own the bird rights, and those accumulate, every year you have the player counts as a bird year, okay? And those go up. And every bird year you have a player, it becomes easier and easier for you to entice that player to come back. You have advantages over other teams. Now, if you trade a player, they keep the bird rights, the accumulated bird rights, okay? So there's a whole number of reasons why we have these. So for us in Toronto, instead of calling it bird rights, we could call it Halo rights because he's like a fixture on our team. So why wouldn't we make it so that we can have him retire here? The point is, if other teams see him as a bargain at 30 mil a season, why wouldn't we? He could take a 2-year deal worth 25 mil, but I think what we're going to actually see happen is, look at our roster here. Okay, so Chris Paul just turned down a $40 million a year player option, I think, which is unfathomable. But the reason he's doing it is that he, Mike Connolly, and Kyle Lowry would all be free agents in the same year, and they all kind of are good comparables for each other, okay? So Paul walks away from 40 mil, but if he gets a contract worth 3 years at 25 mil a season, he's actually up $35 million at the twilight of his career. That's pretty sweet. So I think you're going to see Kalo demanding around the same and Connolly demanding around the same. Now, here's also something. If you go to sign and trade a player, you have to do a minimum of 3-year contract. You can do 4. But we could technically sign Dr. Kyle to a 2-year contract or a 1-year contract in Toronto. Nowhere else can you do that. So what you're going to see is our team is going to let Kalo talk to the rest of the league and see what they're willing to pay him. And we're going to match it. We might even give him a little extra because we can. No one else can. And then he's going to decide, and this is what Bobby was alluding to in his interview, if Kalo wants to stay in Toronto and run it back, awesome. We're happy to have him. If Kalo decides he wants to go play with DeMar somewhere, awesome. Kalo, we helped you sign this 3-year contract worth a lot of money. Enjoy the end of your career. Call us when you're ready to coach. All right? So pretty exciting stuff. Now, what does this mean for Gary Trent Jr.? Well, the way restricted free agents work is teams can offer what's called offer sheets to them starting tomorrow. And if they do, the Raptors get what's called first right of refusal on the contract. So let's say someone offers him 4 years at $18 million. Well, Well, we have first right of refusal, or we can walk away from it. Now, we've already offered him an offer sheet ourselves. So he turned away $15 million for 4. Now, the other thing we have to pay attention to in this situation is that we have all these expiring contracts up at the top. Okay, Gillespie, Paul Watson, Watanabe, Bembry, and then we've got 2 nice big ones, Rodney Hood and Aaron Baines. And I've been talking about this for a while. So we had a window before the draft, but now when we had picks we could use, like the number 4 pick, we could package it up with. And I thought we would get an amazing center if we did that. But the Raptors chose to keep these guys and walk into free agency with them. They're all scheduled to have their contracts expire from August 3rd to August 8th. Gillespie's a little later. So we can make a decision on Gillespie later in free agency, and we can make decisions on the rest of these guys on the fly. Why is that important? Because if we make a trade, and this is actually what I am telling you we're going to do, we're going to be trading for our center. Okay? So we're probably going to be trading away our picks and some of these expiring contracts, Hood or like Aaron Baines' contract. And the reasons that's important is we can use their money to balance out the cap hit so that we stay around the range we want to stay. So if we bring in an expensive player, we want to ship out, say, Rodney Hood to the team that we get him from. So we can go get a contributor from another team that's not going for it this year, bring him in, and that team that's rebuilding can eat the contract of Rodney Hood. So in that scenario, we would re-sign Rodney Hood and move him over. Now, when you do a sign and trade, you have to pay the player more money. But in these cases, these guys are already signed. Okay? Whereas if we do it with, say, Kyle, there's rules, we got to pay him more. So it becomes 3 years instead of 2, as I already explained. So chances are we're going to see a trade. We only have about 8, 9, just under 10 million that we can spend on actual free agents without going over the cap. So we're going to exceed the cap this year for certain. We're going to sign Kyle. The question is, does he want to stay or not? And I think if he wants to leave, we're probably going to do that at the trade deadline if our team is shit. Like, why wouldn't he come back, mentor all of his buddies? He's watched all of these guys grow. I've had great comments in my channel about how the guys heart and soul of the team, these are all his like young brothers, right? So he wants to be here for this. We're going to get Gary Trent Jr. and Kalo back for certain to start the year. Whether they get turned into something else later, it remains to be seen. We're going to see a move. And so I already gave a hot take a couple episodes ago about a trade we might do with the Pelicans, but we have to wait 19 days to do it. Go back and check that video. I think it's episode 10. All right, it was just before the draft. Look to see these players traded in packages to get us something we need. And I like the looks of guys like Christian Wood. I saw a take by William Liu on Run It Back where he says Kelly Olynyk. Guys, I want you in the comments to write down comparable players to Kelly Olynyk, and that way we can figure out what Kelly Olynyk's probably looking for in terms of his contract. Because can we bring in Kelly? He's exactly what I want. A wide-bodied big that plays responsible blue-collar D, can run the pick and roll, and he's also something better. He's like a threat to score, all of these other things. That's a free agent. The thing is, I don't think we have the dollars to compete for the top free agent centers, so we're going to be looking at trading. All right, that's my prediction. It's been my prediction for ages. Okay, so remember 2 things in this year. We can sign Kalo to more than anyone else, so we are definitely going to match any contract that he's given. And we might even add some on top because we love him and we want him to have a good finish to his career, no matter where he goes. And the second thing is the red contracts here can be packaged up and traded with picks and other things to have us get a veteran player back that exceeds the cap by more than the 10 million we have available. Make sense? Look for us to do it. That's what we're doing. Okay, last up, let's take a look at Spicy P. Okay, Big Perk, I think that covers copyright stuff. You want to run the clip? Thanks, buddy.
Well, can we take a moment of silence for Pascal Siakam? Because I think he's about to be on his first thing smoking out of Toronto, right?
So that's obviously a hot freaking take. Take a look at Pascal Siakam here, guys. Is this rumor going to actually result in Siakam leaving Toronto? It's for Wiseman, Kuminga, and Moody is the rumor. Golden State totally scored by taking these seasons off. But no Larry's in Golden State for 2 years when they had a good window. So they're not celebrating. And they need to turn these 3 players into something that they can run with. Now, are we going to trade Siakam? No, sir. If you haven't watched NBA Chev's take on this, I totally second the motion. I'm a disciple of the Chev. He's one of my favorite guys in terms of just where he sees the franchise going. I think he has a very good feel for what the franchise is doing. And not only that, but listening to him for me is like listening to whale music. Chev, shout out once again. You know I'm in love. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll have your babies so that I can grow the channel. And don't forget, we got to make some tough choices. We're not rebuilding, guys. We have championship caliber players, and we should be going for it. There is zero reason for us to be sitting around trying to stock the cupboards with young talent. This is not a game of who's got the most prospects. This is a game of hoisting the freaking Larry, right? So we have a championship team potentially. What the heck would we be getting rid of our team? They've created a window. Look at our contracts. If we sign Kalo to 2 years, he's locked up for the exact same window as our core, and Barnes is now on that list. All we got to do is augment our team, guys. Okay? So let's run it back. Let's get off Spicy P's case. What I love with the Barnes thing is, as soon as he was picked, people were upset. But then they realized, hey, this is still a really good thing for the franchise. We need to make Pascal Siakam feel so much love and confidence this year. We need to envision him kicking ass, the entire team. And we need to send our team vibes that say, hey, we believe in you like we did in 2019. Go get us a chip. We need to make them feel that. And we need to make every team that comes into our stadium feel that. Because guess what, folks? We're not in Tampa anymore. Let's run it back.
Dude, Kawhi, you're not even going to say hi to me in my own house?
I don't even know where you're sitting at.
That's bullshit, Kawhi. Your laugh is
This
stupid.
is Chef's Kiss approved. Mwah!